Hey babes, it's Jenny Procopi from chronicbabe.com, and we're back in my bedroom for another episode of AWAP Wednesday. If this is your first time watching an AWAP Wednesday video, I want you to know that AWAP stands for As Well As Possible. In everything that I do through Chronic Babe, my mission is to help you kick ass in spite of chronic illness. And for all of us, that looks very different day to day. So instead of saying be well or be your best, be as well as possible. That's what we always strive for. So I wanted to make that clear today in today's video because last week, for the first time in months, I actually missed being able to make an AWAP Wednesday video. My as well as possible that day was I did nothing. I did no work. I've been sick for about 2 weeks. I had just now, I'm getting kind of my normal voice back. I think I can make it through this video without a massive coughing fit, fingers crossed. I am drinking tea like it's going out of style. And I felt really bummed out that I couldn't do a video last week. I sent a little newsletter out the next day, but it's a commitment that I've made to y'all and to myself to do them every day, and it was really a big bummer. And I was kind of beating myself up about it and feeling like I had let everyone down and let myself down. But here's the thing, being AWAP is really about being as well as possible. And the reality is there are just going to be days that I can't do everything that I want to do. If you haven't been around Chronic Babe for a long time, I'll tell you this, I've been doing it for 8 years. It's a passion project. I'm a self-employed writer and social media consultant, and I don't make money from this website. So everything that I do in my spare time, which is very challenging. So as a single self-employed sick chick, it's really hard to make the time to do these videos and do the project anyway, let alone when I'm super duper sick and taking an entire week off of work. So I've decided to kind of ease up on myself and not be quite so hard on myself for not getting a video out last week. Okay, now normally the videos aren't so personal about me, they're usually about you and answering your questions. And I have had a few very good questions come in, but today I really wanted to address something that came up. The whole reason I gave you a very long intro to this video is that when we are really, really sick, we get really isolated. And I can tell you that as a very active person, despite having fibromyalgia and asthma and depression and a bunch of other stuff, I'm still a very active person and I see people every day. But for the past week and a half or so, I didn't see anyone. I was here in my bedroom all the time, or in my living room on the couch. And it didn't hit me until about a week into it that I hadn't really physically interacted with another human being. And I just started to cry. I felt so lonely. And I'm a very connected person online and I have a big support system, and yet I felt extremely lonely. So I want to make the point that even those of us who've been working on ourselves and working to be the best that we can be still fall into the same routines that are very common for us sick folk. So I wanted to talk for a second about isolation and about how we can combat that. So realizing that I had gotten so isolated while I was sick, I started thinking about all the systems that I've built into place and why they didn't necessarily work to keep me connected while I was really, really down and really sick. So one of the things that happened was a couple of the people that are really close in my life, my boyfriend, my best friend, my sister, were all like super occupied. They were traveling, they had family emergencies, Mardi Gras was happening. There were all kinds of things going on that meant that they were just not that available to me on the phone. They did their best, but I mean, I was very needy. I wanted more. It just wasn't enough. And so I realized that I didn't have a really good phone tree built in beyond those key people. And I know that I have a bigger group of people than that, but beyond those 3 or 4 key people, I felt like I didn't want to, bug other people. And you know what? That's just bullshit. That's what I figured out. You can't just rely on the same couple people for support. You can't just rely on your spouse or your partner or your kids or your parents for support. you have to have a much bigger support team. And this is advice I've given people for years, and I usually follow it, and I was so sick that it's like I lost myself and I forgot it. So one of the things I did was I built an extra special list on my phone of the people who I love and who I can call and text, and so now I've got a list just handy for me. So anytime I'm not feeling good, it's not just those 3 or 4 key people, it's a list of like 20 people that I can contact. Another thing I realized was that even though I use social media every day, a lot of times I use it to promote my work or to connect with people in a maybe sometimes more superficial way. And I realized that I could actually make much deeper connections with people. So a few days ago I started posting much more personal photos, for example, on my Instagram feed, and wound up having some really cool conversations with people, meeting people with different diagnoses, learning about their stories and getting some support. And also in a time when I needed support, I was actually able to help some people. Like someone needed to know how to make turmeric tea, and I was able to help them, you know, give them the recipe for that. And that made me feel really good. It made me feel like I had a lot of value during a week and a half period where I wasn't working, wasn't really helping people very much, wasn't doing much of anything productive. Even that small connection on Instagram, teaching someone how to make turmeric tea, made me feel like a more valuable person, like I was giving something back. So I want to encourage you to start making some more of those connections, and consider those connections an opportunity to remind yourself of what you have to give to the world. And even in your darkest, you know, sickest moment, you can inspire someone or teach someone. Another thing I wanted to talk about isolation is, and I'm a little embarrassed to admit this, but this seems like the place to do it, I did not take the best care of myself. I wore pajamas nonstop, and I love pajamas. I have nothing, like no problem with pajamas, but I really needed to swap out the pajamas. They were just really I was wearing them way too long. I love this old sweatshirt. It's like a 30-year-old sweatshirt. That's great. But at some point I had to make the decision to like take those clothes off and put on an outfit and like, you know, brush my hair and put on some jewelry and stuff, because I realized that I was looking at myself every day in the mirror and feeling disgusting, and that actually getting dressed and putting on an outfit and kind of taking a few minutes to prep myself, like nothing extravagant, but you know, the basics, it actually made me feel better. It made me feel more connected. It made me feel like a more whole person, more of Jenny, and not just this like sick slug laying on the couch. So it's a really small thing to do, but it can actually make you feel a lot better. And there's all kinds of selfie challenges. I know selfie is the word of the year for 2013, and seemingly stretching into this year. You know, there's all kinds of selfie challenges online, and I would encourage you actually kind of look for some of those, because you'll see other people showing themselves in their real state, and encourage yourself to kind of do that too. So I belong to one called the 365 Feminist Selfie. That's the hashtag. And it's a good exercise to show photos every day. Sometimes I show photos of myself and I look like crap. And then sometimes I see other people kind of like weathering the storm, and it's really encouraging. So it's something I want you to consider doing. It's just another way to connect and another way to feel a little bit better even when you feel the worst. So I got really real with you today. I admitted a few things I'm not proud of, like stinky pajamas, but you know, these videos are a chance for us to have a real conversation and to really talk about these issues that we face that are very pressing. So I hope the tips I offered today were good and helpful for you. I would please, I would really appreciate it if you would leave your tips in the comments below. I learned so much from you. I learned so much this past week and a half as I met people online when I was lying on the couch or in the bed. Please offer your suggestions below. I can't wait to hear what you have to tell people, and I know it's going to be really helpful for so many people. Now, if you liked this video, I hope you'll like it on Facebook and on YouTube. Share it with your friends on social media. You know, we have presences on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. We have the forum. We're everywhere. We're all over the place. If there's somewhere else where you think we need to be that we aren't, you should definitely tell me. So I hope you love it. I hope that you will keep sending me your questions so that next week when I come back, my voice will be even better. I can answer a couple more of your questions and help you be AWAP. So until we meet again, be as well as possible. Mwah. Beep. Not just prop tea, real tea. Blah, 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 blah.